He has to be defeated, and the US people, who generally are incredibly sensible, have to revert to greatly increased understanding and social responsibility.
So, Michael, welcome back. Now, you've come in today following the launch of your new book, Corporate Social Responsibility and Sustainability. And you'll be going to the US next week, places such as Boston, Washington, and New York, to promote this book. But it's come to your attention the social responsibility of the US elections and the US election process. So can you go into a bit more detail about this, please?
Yeah, delighted. Well, CSR is about social responsibility, and we see in the US right now a hugely worrying development, not only for the US, but for the whole world. I just felt I had to say something about it because, frankly, I'm really angry at the lack of social responsibility in the election process. First of all, it goes on for so long. But as the New York Times said yesterday, the Republicans seem to be reeling, unable or unwilling to comprehend that a shady, bombastic liar, not my words, is hardening the image of their party as a symbol of intolerance and division. Hello, Dukascopy TV. You know about me. I'm a highly successful businessman and shall win the race for president of the USA. I shall make USA great again. We'll get rid of all that awful Obama rubbish. My first day, I'll eliminate Obamacare. Get Mexico to build a wall to keep out Mexicans. Allow guns in schools to keep us safe. Ban Muslims getting into our country. Kill the families of terrorists. Strengthen our military and give them more equipment. You'll see, that'll make America great again. Thank you, Dukascopy TV. So just a minute, Mr. Trumpet. Healthcare costs have reduced and coverage increased under Obama. More Mexicans leave the US than enter on average. 30,000 Americans were killed by guns in the USA last year. More than the last 30 years by terrorists, and is the highest per capita in the world being killed by guns by your own people. And then how are you going to identify 11 million Mexicans, many born in the USA? And why Muslims? Why not Buddhists from China? You don't seem to like China very much. Apparently these latter are stealing American jobs. And then the US military, you want to make it even stronger. Stronger? It spends more than the 7 next highest spenders in the world. Why do they need even more money? When what they have done have not stopped ISIS, hasn't stopped Iraq collapsing, hasn't stopped the Taliban, hasn't stopped Assad in Syria, hasn't prevented Russia taking over Crimea and parts of Ukraine. Surely a different approach is required to one that still mimics the Second World War. Or, Mr. Trump, are you just keeping the thirst of NATO happy to create more generals and tanks?
So, Michael, how will social responsibility help?
It seems that the poorly educated white community is voting for Trumpet. The only way to raise their responsibility is through education. Also needed is more transparency and responsibility to stop the outrageous influence of the few. We have seen in the book called Dark Money that the richest Americans, the Koch brothers particularly, want smaller government, in fact no government, except for a strong army and protection for themselves. Did you know that the 16 richest Americans, who curiously have probably done more than anyone to anger Americans about their government, are together richer than over half the US population? They influence the US election through Citizen United, through massive funds to candidates. And believe it or not, the campaign manager of Trumpet worked for the Koch brothers. The Washington Post stated just a few days ago that the Koch network is a Republican-aligned political effort like nothing we have seen, including operations such as the Club for Growth and Americans for Tax Reform that also aspire to sharply reduce taxes, government spending and regulations. Finally, the Republican Party is getting really nervous. Finally, you'd have thought Trumpet would have imploded months ago. But according to the New York Times, Karl Rove, who worked for President Bush, who's looking quite good these days compared to Trumpet, he warned that Donald Trumpet's increasingly likely nomination would be catastrophic, dooming the party in November. But Mr. Rove, the master strategist of George Bush, as I mentioned, insisted it was not too late for them to stop Trumpet. After yesterday, it was just yesterday, Super Tuesday, it looks like a Hillary versus Trumpet runoff. Having Trumpet's finger on the nuclear button, let alone his racist rants, make me, and I'm sure you, very, very nervous. He has to be defeated, and the US people, who generally are incredibly sensible, have to revert to greatly increased understanding and social responsibility. With your permission, I'll report on what they say when I get back from the US at the end of March.
Fantastic. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming today, sharing your insights, and best of luck when you go to the US. We can't wait to hear about it when you come back.
Thanks very much.
Well, that's all from myself and Michael, but for all the latest Dukoscopy updates and exclusive interviews, keep clicking back to Dukoscopy TV. Goodbye for now.